podcast.
Thank you.
For anyone who doesn't know who Leah is my beautiful partner, and we're in our last day in Ubud, and we thought we'd do a podcast about parenthood because we're going to be parents soon.
Surprise!
In November, to be exact.
Yeah, it's come along quickly.
Nice. We found out when we were in Uluru back in February, and now we've shared it with a few people and our close ones, and now we're sort of just letting everyone else know about it.
I think everyone else is going to know now.
Yeah. And I thought it'd be good just to do this for posterity as well, just for our child to watch one day. Be knowing what the parents are up to before
what they experience.
They're born, yeah. So what's the experience of impending parenthood been like for you?
I think it's a unique situation because we went through such a big change. It was so quick, the relationship. We met, and then I was in Melbourne, and then it was a decision to come back to Perth, and then I came back to Perth, and then less than a couple months later, bam!
Preggers.
So yeah, here we were going to take our time and enjoy each other and stay separately in different places for a while and get to know each other a little bit more while I moved to Perth. And then it was, the universe had bigger and brighter ideas.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty amazing process though. It just goes to show how much that the universe is going to allow whatever to happen. It's out of our control.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it feels like, isn't it? Definitely, I think it was like, well, this is happening, so might as well just let it happen. And a lot of it just did feel out of our control, but it also was perfect timing as well. It all seemed to like flow is a much used term, but yeah, it just seemed to like flow along, and everything just sort of worked out as it needed to make it really feel like this is the way it was that was going to be. So yeah. And the idea, I mean, we're first-time parents too, Leah, so the idea of parenting and what that, how does that feel to you, like knowing that in a few months you're going to have a little baby to look after?
I go through
and to be
different
part of our
feelings with it all, especially when it was a bit unexpected at first. So at first I went through oh my god, we're going to be parents. Oh my god, what's going to happen? Where are we going to stay? What are we going to do? So all of that stuff come with it, the whole sense of that conditioning of security and the stability. And then I went through emotion of just pure joy, the idea of, that you're going to have two parents that are going to love this child and, that have experienced so much and have worked on so much themselves in this life to actually be able to raise it and support it in this world. And then now I'm just like trying not to think about it too much at all because I'd rather just flow with it when it happens, because I think it's better to have the unexpected. And I think if you try and think too much about what it's going to feel like and what it's going to be, you're kind of missing out on how it is in the moment.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I've looked at it like from a point of view of like if I had been a parent a few years ago, how would I have felt about it, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago. But just with the things that I've learned and unlearned as well about who I am and about life in general and about relationships and about friendships and different ways I view the world, I've got a much more firm and solid understanding of being a parent as well. And a lot of that relates back to my own childhood and growing up and learning aspects of what parenthood is from my own upbringing as I was growing up, to understanding that it really is an individual thing and that there is no right or wrong when it comes to, there's always morals and ethics come into it as well as far as parenting goes, of course, but your dad and I were talking about it too. There's no book, there's no one can ever tell you what to do. So it's easy for us to like talk about it now and go, oh yeah, done all this work and feel good about it and all that, but once it comes time, like we just don't know, do we? But that's the exciting part as well.
Yeah.
That's the really interesting part of it too, that we don't know what to expect, and it is a surprise, but that's a fantastic thing about life.
Yeah, and the ideas of doing it so differently, of thinking of it in a way. Me personally, I think this is a child coming into the world. I don't own it. I'm here to be a guardian, to support it, to be the adult that it's going to be without any expectation.
Yeah, exactly. But the expectation is a hard thing, though.
Yeah, of course. Even expecting it to be a person that might want to help the world or build communities and things that we have in common.
Play for the West Coast Eagles.
Dockers.
Key position
anyway,
player.
Just saying. I thought it was basketball, wasn't it?
No, golf, remember?
Oh, that's
right,
golf.
Got the most money with the least amount of injury.
Being a model too, and save the world. But, it's actually being able to support the child and then the adult to be who they are meant to be.
Yeah.
Without having any preconceived ideas of what we think the child should be.
Yeah.
And having those boundaries, creating the boundaries and being able to support positive growth, but without trying to shed light on what we think is best for the growth. Like little things like what the child, should wear, or how they should go at school, and just to support whatever
flow they should be interested in.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because I'd love the child to be interested in the Dockers, for instance. And, I don't think that you're quite the same. Yeah, I mean, it might be totally opposite to what we think, but how beautiful is that too, to have a child come out that's so different to us and has their own dreams and aspirations. And I guess we can say all these things now, but we're going to have some interesting lessons. And I think we were talking about this before, about we've got to accept that the child's going to be our teacher, that these new children are coming in are going, well, even us teaching our parents at some points, in our life. But
that our child will become the parent at one stage, at some stage.
But allowing to teach us at a young age too, not just,
Yeah, not just thinking or believing that we know it all. And that's been a huge problem in, I don't know when you could even date it back to. It might be only a relatively recent thing, perhaps back to the industrial age, or I don't know, but like how the child should be seen but not heard, and all that sort of stuff. Like what a bunch of antiquated shit that is. Like
times have changed.
It's so, when you think about it, it's so stymieing to our revolution to say that the adults know all there is to know. The children should be kept quiet. And I mean, it's definitely not like that these days, of course, and there could be an argument that it's actually gone too far the other way with some children, but or some parenting methods. But the idea that you can't learn from a child, or you're not supposed to learn from a child, is ridiculous, really, because they are amazing teachers. And what it probably is just a parent unwilling to learn about themselves. Because I think that's what children ultimately do. They're just probably the strongest mirror for yourself as an individual is your children. I mean, your partner is as well, of course, but I think your child in a different way.
And teaching us to be parents.
Yeah, well, teaching us who we are.
As parents.
Who we are.
As individuals.
Well, as individuals, not just as parents, but.
And to keep that individuality, not to just be a parent, to keep part of yourself through having a child. I mean, easier said than done now.
Yeah.
We haven't experienced it yet, but I've been thinking a lot about the importance of, in a relationship, keeping independence, allowing, you to be your true self without making significant changes to, who you are as a person. Being able to compliment a person that you're with, a partner, but being able to still be yourself and love yourself and love who you are, and have them support that. And same as being a parent, like still being who you are, and taking interest in other things other than family. Family, will be very, very important, but you'll keep a lot of the beauty of yourself in a family, like keeping your individuality.
Definitely.
And being able to say, look, I'm just going to go away for a few days, I'm going to do my own thing, come back, and we can support each other through that.
Yeah, definitely.
Making an effort to do that.
Exactly, not to get lost in the idea of family. And I mean, definitely, I think that's a really important thing I'm assuming in parenthood, but also in relationships, to keep your own identity, keep your own individuality. I think that's something you and I've done very well. It's just we just do our thing, and we're together, but we do our thing. And I think if we can keep and maintain that with our parenting as well, it's going to be healthy for all involved. That's
soon see.
We'll soon see, yeah. November.
It's an ongoing process, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be one of those things that no doubt, we're not going to get it what we consider to be right, or we're not going to do it what we think is correct. I mean, it's just going to be. I think that's that thing. I mean, it's a cliche term, but taking it moment by moment, and
not being so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, not being so hard on ourselves as well. Yeah, but there's a fine line with that too as well. I mean, you can. It's good to be critical, like constructive criticism of how we're doing things, but not taking it to a point that it becomes detrimental to our well-being, which can happen. Just to be aware of how we're parenting and what we're doing.
It'd be interesting, doing it together, having something that we're bouncing off each other and supporting each other with. Because we've had to really quickly come together as a partnership, and we talked about this last night about what is a conscious partnership. Is there such a thing? I mean, everyone's got a different perception of conscious relationships, but we're all human. We all do human stuff. It's not to be in a conscious relationship, but to be conscious in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And same with parenting too. Like, we're going to have our own conditioning and our own days where we're feeling certain things that maybe conscious words won't come out, but just to be bear witness and pay attention to when we do say things that maybe we need to really reconsider and think about what our motives are, where it comes from, and to be able to say sorry and apologise when we do something wrong and be okay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think being conscious is actually being okay with doing things that are wrong and right. Yeah. Together, and I guess parenting too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I think it's a big thing to just be aware and to be able to get ego out of the way enough to admit when you've made a mistake and to say sorry, and certainly in relationships, but in parenthood as well. Again, going back to that thing of thinking that as a parent we know all there is to know and about life, and this child doesn't know anything, but really it could be argued that a child knows more about life than we do as adults, because they haven't had to be preconditioned with the amount of bullshit that we've been preconditioned with, especially toddlers or whatever. They haven't had to go to school or work or be amongst this cultural paradigm, which is, I mean, life is beautiful. The world is beautiful. I mean, I'm so stoked to be alive, and it is fantastic. But the culture that we live in, and there's many different cultures, of course, but we'll talk about this global culture, isn't really healthy. Really, it's not conducive to health and well-being, and it affects us as we grow up as individuals. Unless you can be aware of it and you understand, okay, this is how it works. I can see what's going on here. I'm just going to stay true to myself. A child doesn't have to contend with any of that. And that brings up the question then: how do you, in that knowing you're going to bring a child into that framework, into this culture, how do you prepare that child for it? You can't cotton wool them.
No, they've got to experience things.
They've got to experience things too. But I think the most important element is to teach them to be aware. Just to teach them to learn, like teach them how to learn and teach them how to be aware, rather than teaching them the ways of the world necessarily, of the constructed world. Teach them about themselves.
Yeah, and about the relationships they'll have.
Yeah.
For it to be normal to have different friendship circles, for friends to stop being friends, for you to have a bad experience or a relationship breakup. I think we talked about that the other day, first ever relationship breakup. Yeah. What you go through, So emotions. Yeah, emotions, and not trying to protect them from that, to let them experience it their own way. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting.
There's this thing, I think too, everyone's experience is so different with conception, and ours was, okay, we're going to be together. I don't think people probably know that we were talking together about 6 months before we actually met. Like, a friend of ours, a mutual friend, introduced us. She's going to be rewarded with that for a long time. And we were talking before we actually met, because just out of interest of what we were doing and our perceptions on life, and then we finally met, and it was a very quick process. It was an idea of I was made redundant in my job, timing again. I travelled a little bit to have that time on my own, and then I decided to move over because I'm from Perth originally. Again, an interesting, kind of alliance there and coincidence, coincides, they might say. But for them to have a child without expecting it too, to be pregnant within, I think it was 1.5 months of actually moving to Perth. Some of our family members hadn't even met.
Yeah.
That was interesting, out of wedlock. A lot of people don't even know. I mean,
Had our parents met?
Oh, no, they hadn't.
I can't remember. I don't think they had they?
No, because we'd moved in after we'd found out.
That's right.
So they hadn't.
Yeah.
We'd planned to, but we'd planned to take our time. Oh, yeah, you can meet sometime. And, so we better meet because you're going to have a bloodline together.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny, our perception of that, well, they must come together because the bloodlines come together. It's all forming. Now you're definitely part of the family. Like, it's a beautiful thing, but it's funny our perception on that closeness comes in form of bearing, a child together. But so our experience is like, wow, whoa, quick, let's move in, quick, let's just, try and see what we're going to do and try and plan but not plan because we want to go with the moment and enjoy it. But at the same time, there's that preconceived idea that we must provide for a child and must have everything ready. I think more for me at the start, I was having that, maternal instinct, maybe hormones, who knows, don't want to use that as an excuse, but that whole, I was unemployed at the time.
We both were.
Yeah. On welfare, with a child on the way.
Yeah.
Going through that process of, got to get our shit together now.
Yeah,
got to get some money, got to get some stability. But you know what? We're both born in Australia with supportive families, with assets, with everything that we need. But we still had that stress in ourselves because we thought when we were younger, we talked about this, that we're going to have everything by now.
Everything's set up, everything ready.
Yeah, but then as we got older, we realised how much those things don't mean as much, and that quality life experiences like travel and meeting people and really self-discovery was more important.
Yeah.
Yet then we decided, oh wow, we're being parents now, so then we've got to change that and get money again. And
definitely.
Again. So it's funny, it's trying to balance between the two.
Yeah. Making
sure that we flow and know that abundance will come, but making sure that we can, have a little bit more finances under our belt and do things like that.
Yeah, but then also, like you said, being aware that just the fact that we get to live in Australia, we get to live in Perth, is like we're already blessed. Like it's like winning the we were born white in Australia with good families,
and we're in Bali right now.
We're in Bali right now. It has been for me. It has definitely been a battle. Like going through my 20s and working and always wanting to achieve and doing this and seeing what my future life was going to be like, but then understanding all the bullshit behind it, and then throughout my 30s, I'm 36 now, so then throughout my 30s, going back to university, doing a lot of traveling, I've had to let go a lot of all of that, and I'm so glad I did. But that has included the material things as well, and I'm stoked about that. Just as an individual, without the idea of having a family, as an individual, shedding all that and living the life I have, it's just, I wouldn't swap it for the world.
No, me neither.
But you either. But when a child comes into it, then I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, And the battle's been around, what do we really need? Like, if I've been happy, the happiest I've ever been through living this life, then, I mean, when I think about it, and in my heart, I know that it will roll over into the family thing as well. But my old thinking in my mind is still around, I've got to have a house paid off, and I've got to have the cars and all that sort of stuff.
Nesting, they call it now.
Yeah.
Nesting. Nest egg and nesting.
But it's a bit of a trick, really.
Well, it is, because how much do we really need? It's coming back to that whole point of materialism. Do we need to get that really expensive cot? Or, all these things, baby list I've got from the hospital of all these things that you need. And even though it's important to have those things, it's like, how much do we really need generally? We need a home, we need to have a bed to sleep in, clothes, and a balanced lifestyle where we can still do things like travel and and be with family and work balanced work life.
Sure.
Work that we love doing, work that provides that environment where we could still have our life and not rely on it to, in our existence. That serves a purpose for us and serves a purpose to provide for the community. We're both inspired by that. That's where we found our mission is to actually
be in service.
Be in service.
Yeah.
We're committed to that.
Yeah.
To be in service and surrender to everything, to the universe, but then to bring a child in, you kind of have to manage that and to be conscious of how to think, okay, we're still of service and we can still bring this child up where we can have everything that we want and still do what we are here to do. Yeah,
for sure, exactly. Yeah, I think that's what it's been for me, is about tying in all the things that I've learned into the now, into having a family and into my career as well. And but it's novel to me, like it's new, and that's the scary part. It's exciting as well, but I also have total trust that it's gonna work out because everything else has worked out.
Yeah, and it is that trust, and whatever happens is meant to happen.
Yeah.
We were obviously meant to have this baby, wanted to come through, wants to come through, it's still in the process of being baked. But and to find out in Uluru too, we're driving back across to pick up my car from Melbourne, driving back over to Perth, doing a few big trips along the way, Adelaide, Alice Springs, Uluru, and then having that dream saying it's time to take that test now, and then smack bang our last day in Uluru, finding out everything, is guided, everything happens. The fact that I was unemployed at the time and very sick my first trimester, like I felt like a permanent headache and hangover every day for 3 months. As much as I was pushing myself to go, really need to get a job, as soon as I moved to Perth, if I did have work, I don't know how I would have coped in a new job. Yeah. With all these new experiences and feeling like,
Would have been tough going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Would have been interesting. Definitely interesting.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So it's all worked out, like, as it feels it should, and even at times where we have to question it or doubt it, like, it still works out. So it's just to keep trusting that and,
It's a lesson in ourselves and how we experience things and how we want to cope.
Yeah.
With what life throws at us.
Well, and how we want to manifest as well. Like, what life do we want to manifest? And that really just comes down to our thoughts and our actions.
Yeah. And, we're just learning along the way now of how to, be in a relationship together and learn about each other. And then now we're going to be experiencing how are we going to be parents together?
Yeah.
How do we both flow as parents together? But I guess if you're together a year or 10 years, you're never really going to know when the time comes how you're going to be as a parent and how you're going to complement each other.
Yeah.
As parents supporting each other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. It's we've definitely been put on the fast track. Definitely.
Hasn't everything in the last year? I think with so many people.
Well, a lot of people. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not just us. It's something interesting going on in the world at the moment. And that's why I'm like, I was not just so much fascinated about the fact I'm going to be having a child, but it's also like when, like now.
Yeah.
In 2017, with all that's going on in the world, it's like, wow, this is really interesting. Really interesting. So. Yeah, be interested to see how it all plays out there, but we'll be fine, no doubt.
Sure, we have that big loving community around. That child's going to be blessed and part of.
Well, we're very fortunate. We've just got an amazing group of people around us, a lot of amazing tribe of people. So that's again to make the most out of that. I certainly didn't have that growing up. Would have been fantastic, but it's definitely something that I want to. Share with my child is this amazing tribe that we have around us, and see what happens from there. Sounds like the crickets are giving us a round of applause to perhaps finish up, Leah.
It's a nice ending.
What do you reckon?
I think so.
Thanks for doing this podcast with me.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Oh, that's a quick finish. And it'd be interesting to watch this in a few years' time.
Yeah.
See what's going on then.
Yeah.
Say hello to the three of us watching back at this.
Yeah.
Maybe a fourth.
Hang on a minute. One at a time.
Yeah, no, right. We'll see. But thanks very much, Leah. And we'll do this again another time, I'm sure. And thanks to everyone watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.